What's the difference just between silicone and what has been available previously? Because I think that's really what's interesting to people who are out there that are going to make a decision about what's right for them. The two main implants that we have available today are saline breast implants, which have a silicone rubber shell and are filled with saline or salt water, and silicone gel breast implants, which have the same silicone rubber shell but are filled with a silicone gel instead of saline. And the main difference between the two is the feel of the implants. Silicone gel implants have a softer, slightly more natural feel to them than a saline implant. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's better, it's just different. In some people, you can get an excellent result with a saline implant, and in some women, you just get a better result with a silicone gel breast implant.
What about the size of an incision for a silicone gel implant compared to a saline implant? Is there a difference?
There's a difference in the way in which a breast implant is put in, whether it's a saline implant or a silicone gel breast implant. Saline implants generally are put in empty, and so you can put them in through fairly small incisions, usually about 2.5 to 3 centimeters, and fill them up through a little connecting tube when they're already on the inside. Whereas a silicone gel implant, like the one that I'm holding here, goes in pre-filled. And so you need a slightly larger incision for putting them in. So that's one of the trade-offs that women need to understand if they're selecting a silicone gel breast implant.
And what is the consistency? Is that a fluid inside?
It's not. It's really like a semi-solid material. And this, in the end, really is one of the main differences between silicone gel implants of the 1970s and early 1980s and these types of silicone implants that we have now. The implants of the 70s and 80s were filled with a silicone gel that had a much more liquidy gel. So if one of those implants were to break, it was possible for the silicone gel to get out from the implant. These implants, which have been manufactured since about 1993 and we've been using in Canada since around 2000, are filled with a more viscous, thicker gel. So if you cut into them, and let me just show you sort of what that looks like. If we take an implant like this and we cut into it, you can see that it's very much like cutting into a gummy bear. It's a semi-solid material. It is not a gel that leaks. It's not a liquid.
And the saline isn't the same consistency.
Well, saline, of course, is almost like a water balloon.
Right.
So that would completely deflate if it were to break. And the older style silicone gel implants, if you did what I just did now, would start and held the implant up, you would start to see the gel oozing out from the implant. This one I've cut a big hole into the center and the gel doesn't come out. It is what we call a highly cohesive silicone gel breast implant.
It can't leak?
Well, it can't leak in the sense that it would be very difficult for any material to get out from the implant itself. I suppose anything has the potential through immense pressure for some of the gel to get out from the shell, but the body does form a natural layer around any implant called a capsule. And generally, if an implant such as this were to break, and we believe that that's very, very uncommon, the gel would likely stay confined within the implant and within the capsule that forms around the implant.
So these feel more natural than a saline breast implant?
Well, in many women they do. In some women, especially women with a larger amount of breast tissue, any implant can feel quite natural. But when there's not a lot of breast tissue present, the consistency of the implant becomes so much more important. And so in many women, a cohesive gel implant has a more natural feel than a saline implant. I think the other thing that you can see, Anne, is just the shape. And it's not shaped like a round implant. This is shaped more like a teardrop. And so in certain patients, in certain women, using a teardrop-shaped implant can give a much more natural aesthetic outcome.
Is there a choice between the teardrop and a round in this silicone gel implant?
There is.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
My pleasure, Anne.
Do